There's some active square. You can find a seat up there. Right out in the town. Yeah. If there's some good.
Yeah, calorie something. Yeah, I'm just not gonna say about it.
So is there?
Hello. Are you sir?
Yes.
That's nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well.
Thank you. All right. Good, thank you. I'm good, thank you. You too as well. All right. And this is
The other one, I said, give me some.
Yes, it is. And I need this packet of information filled out. You can drop it off at the clerk treasurer's office. Jennifer, it's for you. It's for the paid position. All right, so that belongs to you. And $600 a year.
I mean,
Congratulations. So,
I mean, you know, that's normal.
it's a
I heard things ringing through, like insurance, I'm like, please don't call, please don't call. And they get to ring through, no matter what. Yeah. So close, right around the corner, at the corner of Columbia and. It was a terrible. In better weather, I could have walked it. A little. How about you? Too far? I did. So Ava's all have issues in her rock, are they? Oh, she did. Okay. Okay, and I'll give this one for her, and it's that she cooks, you're gonna have the oven back home. So that's all right. Haley's flying back to Dallas right now. I am. No problem, I'm happy to. That's where our. Great school. Yeah, we're super happy there. So much. So your son or daughter went to grad school there? So,
okay.
That afternoon. It was kind of, she got recommended. So that kind of got it in the back of her mind to do the law school.
Be second, still green.
That's fine.
Sorry.
Doesn't matter.
Oh my God. So he was well. And then I'll be the judge. All right, congratulations. That's great. That's exciting. That's a great place to go. Yeah, we're super.
My daughter got math education.
Oh, that's good. All right. Right.
Anybody online, sir?
In what area? I was from.
Rome, and were you the vice?
Oh, that's fun. So when I need help, who was about you on speed?
Oh, you were.
That's always very expensive. Oh,
I
is it?
thought it was you and, I thought it was you and,
Okay.
Are you good? Went online. Next to look at the packet, it's ready.
I know it's fine.
I started to.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for January 9th, 2024. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sir, do you want to take roll?
Brad Hemingway. Here. Jennifer Johns,
Here.
Sharon Mayer,
Here.
Ed Wolowski. Here.
Okay. And
Oh, I'm sorry, and, Councilman Peterson.
Yes. Well, Mr. Rapp.
Oh.
I'm here too.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, we will have election of officers for this 2024. And I would like to make a nomination of Roland Raffin for president and Brad Hemingway for vice president. Do I have a second?
Second that motion.
And then we'll need a nomination for executive secretary.
I'll nominate Chair Mayor for Executive Secretary.
And second?
Second.
Executive secretary goes to staff, I believe.
Oh, staff?
Okay,
Okay.
all right, very good.
Unless Sharon wants to.
No, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so then at this point then, I will hand over the gavel to Roland.
Sounds good. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from December 2023. Has the board had a chance to review the draft minutes, and if so, what is the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Raffin.
Yes.
When you're done, I need to swear in, please.
Oh, okay.
So, Mr. Rathman, when you finish the motion and.
Okay, and then we'll do that.
Yep, so we'll take, I'll interject.
Sounds good.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second that motion.
Any discussion? Sergio, would you please call roll?
Brad Hemingway. Yes. Jennifer Johns,
Yes.
Sharon Mayer,
Yes.
Ed Wolowski. Yes. And Roland Raffin.
Yes. The next item we will do is swearing in of new members.
2 new members. We welcome our 2 new members this evening. Thank you. All right, if you will stand, raise your right hand. I will read you the oath of office. You can repeat, and then I have certificates of appointment that I will ask you to sign. I will take these to county this week and get them filed so you're officially recorded. So, and Jennifer will do this again at the planning commission meeting. So, and then I'm going to, it'll be I state your name, 1, 2, and then we'll continue on with the oath.
Okay.
I
Edward Pulowski.
I, Jennifer Johns,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the
that I will support the
Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States.
States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
And the Constitution of the State of Indiana.
and I will faithfully and impartially
And I will
and I will
faithfully
faithfully
and
and
impartially
impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my
discharge my duties
as a member of
as
as a member of
the Munster Board of Zoning Appeals,
the Munster Board of Zoning Appeals,
according to the law,
according to the law,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, welcome to the BZA. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Judge, and I'm gonna do this again in about another 45 minutes or so. I'm gonna go sit in my office for a little bit, get some work done, and then I'm watching online so I can try and, yeah, if not, just tap the screen.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I come prepared. There's also additional pens. Do you need a pen? I have a little stash over here of extra supplies.
All right, well, I'd like to welcome new committee members. Thank you for doing your civic duty. The next item on the agenda, since we have no preliminary hearings, we'll move on to public hearings. We have BZA 23012, David DeRoff is seeking a developmental standard variance to allow a fence to be installed 14 feet 11 inches from the house at 8649. Sergio turns over to you for a presentation.
Sure. The petitioner is requesting to install or reinstall an existing fence. Currently, the fence is identified as 14 feet 11 inches from the side of the home. The property is located on a corner lot. Here's an image of the fence itself on the corner lot. The request is to reinstall the fence 11 inches outside of the property line, which is encroaching into the right of way. The applicant was notified that the BZA does not have the authority to grant variances into the public right of way. That is entirely for the council. He was advised that the plan commission or the BZA can grant up to the property line, which is 14 feet from the side of the home. The applicant understands that process. The current ordinance requires that on corner lot side yard fences be 3 feet from the property line. However, when the fence was when the permit was issued in 2018, the ordinance allowed for the fence to go to the property line under the conditional review of the zoning administrator or zoning official at the time. You'll see language there that identifies that as long as there was no amendments to the flag sign or sight lines, I should say. The request is that the petitioner approach 11 inches to incorporate or be in front of the tree that's to the rear yard here, identified in the photograph. If they were to move that back 11 inches to comply with the previous zoning code, they would run into that tree. The current zoning code requires that the fence be set back an additional 3 feet. Perhaps that would avoid that tree, but the applicant is insistent that they will move forward. In the 2018 application, we did note that a survey was submitted, also a survey which identifies the location of the existing fence. It's identified on the property line in there, and you see the red X's and dots or the squares. It was thought that perhaps when the fence was installed, it was installed outside of that line because of the tree. So staff is recommending that if this, after the public hearing is open and closed, that the motion, there could be variable motions for the plan commission or for BZA to consider. One would be to reinstate or reinstall the fence along the 14 feet from the home along the property line, or approve the reinstallation of the fence 14 feet from the home along the property line. However, relocate the fence once you get the tree back into the rear yard and around the tree. The other option would be to deny the 14 feet 11 inches and require them to keep the fence 3 feet off the property line as the current ordinance is identified. That is a summary of what the request is.
Thank you, Sergio. Is there any questions for staff regarding this petition? Being none, is there someone here to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Please state your name and address for the record.
Dave DeRolf, I'm representing 8649 Greenwood.
Thank you. So if I'm to get this correct, you're looking at putting in a new fence at the same line as what your existing, in the same exact location as your existing fence and how it was.
Yes.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. DeRoff, are you a contractor? You're not the property owner.
I'm not the property owner.
So, do you know the history of this property with regard to what was there before 2018?
No, I couldn't speak to that. I'm sorry. I don't know, as far as I know, the house has always had it, so. I know the fence was painted. Back the whole line, so that might have been when we pulled the permit. But I don't believe, I don't know where the fence was before that. As far as I know, it's like at that exact location. And I tried every angle to try to see how we could do it, but it was gonna go right down the middle of that tree. It's at least 20 inches long.
So the project that you're providing quotes to the owner is for a replacement of that fence?
Exact fence, exactly where it is, yes. What we're asking for.
Sergio, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So in 2018, when they got the permit to put the fence up, was the application for a fence replacement, and that there was a fence in that same place prior to
So
2018?
we have records showing that a fence permit was issued in 2008. At the time when 2018, when the fence permit, the new fence permit was requested, they submitted the survey that you see here below, which identifies a fence existing on the property line. At some point in time, we suspect that when that fence was installed, it was not installed on the property line and possibly maybe 11 inches off the property line into the right of way. And so now they are requesting to reinstall the fence in 2023 or 2024 in the same location, which is 11 feet off or 11 inches off the property line in the right.
So 5 years ago or 6 years ago, they got a new fence.
Replace a fence permit that was issued in 2008.
We changed the pickets in that year.
So just the pickets were changed, the
I
structure?
know we changed it to, yeah, the boards were all twisted, so we changed the board there. It was happening, so probably did pull a permit for that, but we didn't. Post one year. 1 inch thick instead of the thin pickets.
Sergio, with respect to if we do not make a decision, he could take it to the council then?
No, this is a development standard variance, and the decision rests with the board of zoning appeals.
So, but earlier you had said that it was only the town could give them permission to build in the right of way.
Correct.
So what has to happen in order for that to happen?
You would have to get approval from the town council to encroach 11 inches into the public right of way.
So would we make a recommendation to the town council then? Or what would have to happen for that to go before them?
He would have to appear before the town council requesting to be on the agenda to discuss or make authorization for encroachment into the public right.
So then so as far as we go, would it be that we would be tabling any decision then?
The board of zoning appeals is a quasi jurisdictional body. They do not make recommendations to other bodies. And unlike the planning commission, which is an advisory board that makes recommendations, excluding some other actions. So the action that's presented or request that appears before you and the applicant that was advised is that up to the property line, which is 14 feet, is what this board is authorized to grant. Anything outside of that, you would have to ask authorization from the town council who owns public right of ways, who receives public right of ways. So if you should acquire that 14 or that 11 inches into the public right of way, we would enter that into record as part of the permit and identify that the fence is now being relocated 14 feet 11 inches with authorization from the town council.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, yes, could I direct a question to council and staff?
Absolutely.
Mr. Wickland, I recall from my time on the BZA that if the BZA denies a petition that imposes a bar on refiling, I think it's within a year, I believe. if the BZA denied this petition, would that negatively impact the petitioner coming before the town council?
That's a good question. I don't think it would. I don't know.
Okay, so is it fair to say that one of the options is to deny the petition? I recall in the past, another option is when there's an impediment that emerges that would make it difficult or impossible for the BZA to act. There's been a suggestion that perhaps the petitioner withdraw the petition so that they don't suffer a prejudice. And I think in this particular instance, recognizing the fact that staff thinks correctly determined that the BZA can't act, this might be something that the chair suggests the petitioner is instead withdraw the petition and take it to the proper venue.
I think that's a good statement. To defer would be terminal.
I pass back to the chair.
Thank you. So Sergio, with that tree there, there's no way to get that fence back to the 14 foot. In that corner.
The applicants indicated that the location of the tree prohibits them from maintaining a 14 foot fence along the property line.
I would guess unless they just fence around that tree
Correct.
and pull it on the inside, you know,
Bring the fence into the project yard.
Right.
To the yard.
or even kept it on the 14 foot property line, just brought it in that corner, you know. And the owner's not here for the property to speak on his own behalf.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I would make a motion to approve this
Well, it is a
various.
public hearing, so you have to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So. Any questions for the petition before we open up to a public hearing? That being said, I will open this up to the public. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Going once, going twice. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Ms. Mayor?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve this variance based on the fence being placed at 14 feet from the house.
We have a motion to pass.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this issue? No discussion. That being said, Sergio, I'll call roll.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Ms. Johns,
Yes.
Ms. Narrow,
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski,
Yes.
and Chairman Brown.
Yes. You have approval to build at 14 feet. If you want to build at 1411, like Mr. Peterson said, you can come from the town council and ask them for that conditional approval.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Next item on the agenda is BZA 23013, Steve Capilio for Rosewood Steakhouse is seeking developmental standard variance to allow one additional awning sign along drive aisle facade 9601 Kevin Avenue, Suite D. Sergio, I'll turn it over to you.
Mr. Caprio is the operator of, or speaking on behalf of Rosebud Steakhouse. Currently, this is their signage that was approved. They are permitted for frontage on a corner lot signage, which they have complied with. However, the current zoning code requires that or limits awning signs to face on the drive aisle. One awning sign per drive aisle. In this case, they installed two awning signs, one facing this is a corner development. There's a retired restaurant that encompasses this entire intersection here of the building. And they face the interior drive aisle. One faces to the south and the other one faces to the east. They were permitted one sign awning and install a second one with another sign awning at the corner intersection there of the drive aisle. They are requesting to maintain one of the sign awnings facing the interior drive aisle. That's our ordinances there, and so essentially they're asking for one additional sign awning And what staff has identified about this property is that it is a local business that is at the intersection of a drive aisle, interior drive aisle. It definitely takes this entire corner there.
Thank you, Sergio. Does anyone on the board have any questions for staff? Is someone here tonight to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Step on up to the podium and state your name and address for public record. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Cutlow. I'm one of the owners of Rosebud Steakhouse, 9601 Calumet Avenue.
Thank you. Presentation was on the money. Everything was good that Sergio presented.
Yes.
Is there any questions for Rosebud Group?
So these are the inner signs on the inside of towards the parking lot, is that correct?
Correct, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I will open the podium up to anyone that would like to come up and speak on behalf of the public. Going once, going twice. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals. What is the pleasure of the board? Motions,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
give a motion, do we have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Sergio, would you please call roll?
Mr. Hemingway,
yes,
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Pulaski,
Yes,
and Chairman Rocket.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
The next item on the agenda is BZA 23014, Nicholas Giorgio of for ONSI Orthopedic Specialist Northwest Indiana is seeking multiple developmental standard variances for building setback, building materials, frontage build out, off-street parking, screening, primary entrance location, sidewalks at 9900 Columbia Avenue. Is that it? That's all they're asking for?
Yes.
All right. Turn it over to you.
All right, this is the existing, the Gates Church, they're located at 9900 Columbia. The structure is there, they are proposing to renovate or remodel the interior and exterior of this, nearly 10,000 square foot building. As part of phase one, they're also proposing to expand on the existing parking lot to accommodate that expansion. As part of phase two, they anticipate, adding another 10,000 square foot, addition to the existing structure. With an additional 44 parking spaces to comply with the parking of this. As part of this proposal, they're requesting multiple variances, as outlined earlier. We're going through these variances. The first variance required is a setback. They have identified a utility easement, which requires them to maintain, which is part of the existing building to maintain over back from the primary right or from the secondary right of way. They are proposing as part of their expansion to maintain that setback requirement from the right of way as opposed to part of that, so they're taking a variance from that. The second variance they're requesting is the use of material. The use of material, the current code prohibits the use of EFS. They are proposing the use of EFS at a percentage that affects the percentage of the build out. The second variance they are proposing is for the building entrances. The current ordinance requires reviews that the primary entrance be located along the side building facing the primary frontage, which is located along this Bowman Drive there. We are proposing that based on the design of the building, that the entrances face towards the west or the interior of the parking lot. The next variance they're requesting is parking. Currently parking is permitted within the second and third lot layer. We are proposing parking in the first lot layer. After phase one is complete, after phase two is complete. This is your first lot layer based on the current description of lot design. So they would accommodate additional parking in the first lot layer. And the next requirement is that they provide screening in the form of a wall or a wrought iron fence along the first lot layer screening if they're asking variance from that to waive that installation of the fence and only identified in the red here, then the first dollar, whether they are providing substantial amount of landscaping, which is also required as part of this identifies the requirements that other community or other developments in the town of Munster have installed regarding the screening. In this case, both of these developments have option for the wrought iron or sorry, metal decorative fence. The other variance they're requesting is the installation of public improvements, which include sidewalks along the frontage and primary roads. This consent shows what and where the sidewalk would be based on this development. They are requesting the variance to not install sidewalks. Staff has reviewed and made recommendations that 3 of the 6 variances be approved based on the current setback design, which is the existing building as part of the model, the addition, keep consistent within our offset easement. As part of this design, we're also proposing, or staff recommends that the entrance be located as proposed. And the other variance that staff recommends approval on is the location of the first lot line of parking. As part of that overall design, the staff does not recommend approval on the waiver from not installing the wrought iron or decorative metal ornament fence and or wall to screen the parking in the first lot layer. Also, staff does not recommend that the sidewalks not be installed. Staff recommends that as part of the development, sidewalks be installed. And the other variance that is requested that staff recommends denial is the use of material. And the request that we recommend that we comply with the current standards on use of materials for the remodel and the addition.
Thank you, Sergio. Are there any questions for staff? That being said, is someone here to speak on behalf of petitioner?
Mr. Chairman, before the petition representative speaks, I do want to disclose, I am a practicing attorney here in Munster, and I have provided legal services to Nicholas Georgiou. So even though I'm a non-voting member, I will recuse myself from any further participation.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Gentlemen, we had a long discussion last month, but you didn't change anything we talked about.
Good evening.
EFS is still on there, sidewalks is off there. Landscaping.
Well, again, Nicholas Georgiou Associates Architects, representing Lois and I, orthopedic specialist of Northwest Indiana. Well, we're willing to concede the EFS. We've discussed that with the owners, as you asked us to do after the last meeting. We were willing to delete the EFS, not maintain it. We're looking to, the owners agreed to reclad the entire building, materials approved by the zoning. The item of which came up after the last BZA was the issue of the enhanced hedge, which we had not identified initially. Sergio identified it to us. I made the comment that we do have we have continuous hedge and we have additional trees and landscaping already on the south side of that parking lot. The missing piece is the metal fence. So we asked for consideration that the landscaping we submitted be considered to be approved as submitted. The last item, relative to sidewalks, it's more of a, Russell probably made comments also, the closest sidewalks to any of this site is like 1,000 feet away. And it's noted in the report that was submitted by staff, like 1,000 feet to the south. I think there's a similar distance to the north where there's these, I'll use the phrase sidewalks to nowhere, because there's no sidewalks to connect to, and I seriously doubt whether those will be installed in the future, at least for your consideration.
Russ Posen, DVG, 1155 Trotline Road. The statements by Nick is, I echo that, and that is what we would petition for the board to consider.
So an orthopedic office doesn't want people to walk. Doesn't that seem?
Well, they have nowhere to walk from.
Not yet,
when
but
they
if
get
everybody
off the
didn't put
property.
in sidewalks, then we would never get sidewalks, right?
We understand your comments, so I'll leave it at that.
Are there any questions for petitioner? Anybody? Any comments on staff's recommendation regarding the three variances that they recommend against regarding the ephes, the sidewalk, and the fencing?
Mr. Chairman, the architect has indicated that they have changed their position on the ethos,
Correct.
correct? So at this point, you're seeking variance, for the enhanced hedge metal fence.
Well, no, a variance from that to just allow the landscaping we propose on our plan, which is a continuous hedge, plus trees and landscaping as shown on the plans. The only item would be missing would be the ornamental iron fence. That would be the variance for that.
So the metal fence and the sidewalks, those are the two remaining issues.
Yes,
And the plan commission has reviewed their landscaping plan.
They're coming tonight.
yes.
So they're coming tonight after this.
So there'll be further discussion about this. So at this point, we could make a motion to approve those things that have been decided and table those things that have not, correct?
I would guess, or we could table it based on the planning commission's developmental standard review consensus.
To make the approval based on what the plan commission agrees to?
It would basically be the fence, right? You know, because the sidewalk should stay at this commission, whether we allow it or not, because that's a variance, a true variance that we're asking for the board, correct, Mr. Whitman?
Correct.
Now, when it comes to developmental standards and design, whether it's brick materials, fencing, I would guess I would have some jurisdiction on the planning commission as well, right? Also,
So one thing that I would say is that, the petitioner hasn't represented what their hardship is in meeting the sidewalk and the metal fence, and in so saying, it cannot be a financial hardship. What, is there a hardship inherent to the land that requires you to request this?
We were only made aware of the enhanced hedge after the previous BZA meeting. We presenting what we have, if this decision, or the word of your mouth, for your decision is, you know, say deny our variance and you prove the other items, then so be it. I'll put it that way.
So at this point, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
public hearing.
Oh.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is a public hearing. Is anyone here on behalf of the public to speak on BZA 23014? If so, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address. Going once. Going twice. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Ms. Mayor?
Okay, so this will be, a motion to approve developmental standards variance for the setback of the principal building from the principal and secondary frontage, as well as allow main entrances not to be located along the facade of the principal frontage, and allow off-street parking in the first lot layer, including all discussion and findings. Continuing on with that, the petitioner has agreed to comply with our building materials, so no variance is requested any longer regarding building materials.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. So rather than denying petition for the sidewalk and the metal fence, we will defer to the plan commission for their review of those things.
Sidewalk should be here.
Okay, you want the sidewalk to be here? Well,
You can make a motion, correct, Sergio, on the items that we're approving tonight.
correct.
If the items that aren't approved, Mr. Wakeland, tonight, and they go in front of the planning commission, there's not a 1-year waiting period regarding the items of
No,
fencing and that's being deferred to the planning commission, so there's no ruling on that per se, and it's not denied, so it's continued with the planning commission. Yes,
Can I ask a point to the board or a question?
yes, you can.
So when I heard all those be 4 items, well, the ethos would be rejected, understood, the other 3 would be approved. The clarification on the enhanced hedge, is that then considered developmental variance and not a BZA variance?
That'll be part of the, would that be for Sergio, Mr. Wickland, part of developmental standard review?
Yes.
So if I put it all the way down, then you recommend that we have sidewalks, and you either be 4 items approved, the ethos would be withdrawn or not, or overruled and not accepted, and then the enhanced hedge would go to the planning commission and the developmental variance.
Yeah, so you're changing the ethos to our materials.
Yes,
All the lot layer stuff is being voted on.
Correct.
And approved. Sidewalks are going in as presented on plan.
Okay.
And basically, the only thing that's not being voted on right now is the fencing and the hedge that's going to planning commission.
we understand.
Okay,
Yes,
just want to make sure we're all on the same
Yes.
page. Okay,
we understand.
Ms. Mayor?
Okay. So the motion to approve is for the developmental standards variant for the setback of the principal building from the principal and secondary frontage, as well as main entrances not to be located along the facade of the principal frontage, and allow off-street parking in the first lot layer, including all discussion and findings. We're not going to deny anything.
No,
Oh.
we're just tabling one item, which
Correct.
is the fence and hedging to the planning commission.
And, well, I take that back, the sidewalk, though, we want them to put the sidewalk in, so that would be a denial?
Well, you would be, when you basically withdrawing that,
You
Would
would be
you-
withdrawing that along with the building materials?
because you're putting in the sidewalk, because we can vote line item by line item if you want to. Can we, Mr. Wickland?
You can.
Or if that makes it easier, if you want to present each one individually, and we could deny the sidewalk, that makes it easier to translate later on in your records.
I would agree.
Sergio,
I would agree.
okay, you want to present one at a time, we'll go through them.
Let's go through them one at a time. Hold on, I have to back up to this.
So if you're on page 3, that'll tell you, it's the number 1 is the principal front and secondary frontage, would be the first. motion.
Right, okay, so motion to approve principal frontage and secondary frontage.
That's all you would need. That's the first motion.
That's first motion.
All right, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Sergio, would you please call roll on 26-6405-87 district standard setbacks, principal building, principal frontage, and secondary frontage?
Mr. Hemingway.
Yes.
Ms. Johns.
Yes.
Ms. Mayor.
Yes,
Mr. Deletsky.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffin.
Yes. So your second would be the, Ms. Mayor, now on the words in your mouth, would be the district standards, building materials, and frontage build out.
so that one though.
There's multiple on that, Sergio, where you have the
Right.
frontage build out that's approved, but you have the building materials and building standards are lumped into one.
Correct. The building material is part of the build out frontage.
So item number 2 on that list. We're not approving it or denying.
Correct. It was, well, it was a recommendation to deny, so they would, and they indicated they would withdraw that request and comply with the current standard.
So we don't need to speak on it.
They indicated that they're going to withdraw that.
Okay, and then item number 3, entrances. That one is, that is a motion to approve, correct? Okay. So 26.6.405A7 district standards, building standards, entrances, motion to approve.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Mr. Hemingway.
Yes.
Ms. Johns.
Yes.
Ms. Mayor.
Yes,
Mr. Deletsky.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffin.
Yes.
Okay, next item, 26-405A7 District Standards, vehicular parking requirements, off-street parking location. Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Mr. Hemingway. Yes. Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Merrill.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
And Chairman Lund.
Yes.
The next item on the list is the type of screens. This is the enhanced hedge metal fence. We're not going to make comment on that.
I make a recommendation that the table is a planning commission.
So motion to table.
So we motion to table. Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
Any discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Mr. Hemingway. Yes. Ms. Jones.
Yeah.
Ms. Merrill.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
And Chairman Rath.
Yes. One more.
Last one, 26-6405 S2 District Standard Streetscape Repairs, Replacement and Improvements. Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Wait, is that the sidewalk?
That's the second.
Yes, that's right.
So we're not, well, that is not
We'll table
correct. That's a table. Let me amend that to, that would be a
Just
table.
lost my spot.
Motion to table.
May I comment, please?
Yes, you may now.
We're open to, we're looking at our schedule, and if I go with the plan commission and I go again, I gotta come back again. We're willing to accept that you'll deny the sidewalk or deny the variance to delete the sidewalk.
So you're withdrawing it?
We're seeking a motion tonight.
Yes,
To deny.
seeking a motion to deny.
Whatever your pleasure.
Mr.
Oh.
Chair,
Okay, motion to deny?
we have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
Any discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Mr. Hemingway. Yes. Ms. Jones.
Yeah.
Ms. Merrill.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
And Chairman Rath.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you at the
I have
planning.
one more question if I missed it. So the item 2 on the ethos was a deny motion, is that correct?
Yes. Okay, that was my motion.
Understood.
And we'll see your building materials at the planning commission.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is findings of facts, BZA 23010, Attorney Jim Weezer with Crew Car Wash received multiple developmental standard variances for an off-site dumpster location, landscaping, and alterations to a pole sign at 111 Ridge Road. We had a chance to review these findings of facts, and so was the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Mr. Hemingway. Yes. Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Merrill.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
And Chairman Rath.
Yes. Next item for continued discussion, items, other businesses, 2024 Board of Zoning Appeals, meeting dates and filing deadlines. Sergio, I'll turn this over to you for.
So it's part of preparation of 2024, what we've taken is the scheduled meeting dates for the public to view and understand when the meeting dates are and when the filing deadlines are. So we've identified that all within the same sheet. For example, January 9th meeting, which is today's meeting for the Board of Zoning Appeals, filing deadline was identified as on December 12th, or I'm sorry, December 19th, 2023, the next meeting is for February 13th. The filing deadline is identified as January 23rd. This allows 21 days between meetings for staff to prepare reports and get this over to the Board of Zoning Appeals for review, as well as ascertain any additional documents or information required for review prior to the meeting. So these dates are also based on previous last year's filing deadlines and currently scheduled. So I'm not sure that any action is required. We just want to present this to the board and see if there's any additional thoughts or questions. If there are none, then we will go ahead and show it.
Sergio, is it possible as if we have these filing dates that we try to get it to us like a week before? You know, that way it gives you guys 2 weeks to review, process everything, and get our hands, so in case we want to drive around, look at things, we got, a week to do it.
Yes, that would be ideal. So one of the things we're trying to do internally is I locate the most recent findings and decisions, or sorry, rules and procedure for the BZA and the Planning Commission. Because typically they identify when they're filing deadlines. Unfortunately, I can't locate the most current copy I found from 1990. But it was very vague on filing deadlines, and what we'd like to do is if there's any changes that need to be made for filing deadlines, we can bring back that to the board. And the commission, either one, to make those amendments so that we can have, I think, get this information and turn it over to the decision makers.
And I would expect if someone's filing this 21 days before, it's a complete packet, that they're not just filing something and then spoon feeding it to staff and then to us. It should be a completed packet that we shouldn't have to adjust at all.
I appreciate
Should be
it.
right, because a lot of times I see it coming here, we're getting things like last minute, the day before, because the developer didn't do their due diligence, and then we're scrambling to make a decision on something that really shouldn't be voted on at all, because the proper work hasn't been done in front.
Correct. I appreciate that comment, and we will work with the applicants to show let them know that filing deadline indicates full submittal of application, and that there's support from the Board of Zoning Appeals for complete applications to be submitted. Also, I just want to let the BZA know that if they feel that they have not received enough information for after the final deadline, the board does have the ability to take table and defer, so that way additional time to be allocated for review. Sure.
But still, when you have a full agenda and you're seeing stuff that's not really ready, it's all time off of our plate.
That is the preference of the staff as well.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? That being said, our next regular business meeting is February 13th, 2023. We have a motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, Mr. Chairman, Sergio had a report on Michael Dust's situation.
So we have been looking at documents that we have on file, notice of violations issued for said property. And we did get a legal opinion on this matter, in which it identifies the next course of action would be to for the town's opinion, for the town's option is to file a suit or injunction declaratory judgment against the property owner. Unfortunately, we've been advised that code enforcement has limited capabilities on issuing citations. So we will be bringing this matter and all our findings and notices of violations to the town manager's office to be discussed with the town council to see what the interest in advance of this for injunction.
I drove past last night. They're using it as a garage, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove past. I could tell they're using it as a garage.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Peterson.
I recall this matter, when I was, you would recall back then, and I further declare this now, I have represented Mr. Michael Dust as an attorney in Munster, so to the extent that there's any involvement in this matter, I accuse myself.
Well, thank you for the update. That being said, we have a motion to adjourn.
You're gonna make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Nice to meet you. You're being best.
All right, I'm gonna call this meeting of the Munster Plan Commission for Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 to order. Please set your phones on stun and let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up on the agenda is the introduction of new board members. Is that Clerk Miss? Is that Mr. Baker? Is that you, Mr. Mendoza? Who's doing that?
That is
Miss?
Hello, everyone.
It's nice to
Welcome.
see you.
Nice to see
The
you.
floor is yours.
It's been a while. So
couple what you have.
I want to welcome our newest members to the Planning Commission. And congratulations, Rachel Brannigan, for your reappointment. We look forward to 4 more years. We welcome Jennifer Johns to your 4 years. And then our 3 council representatives are Dr. Joseph Hopper, Mr. George Schinken, and Attorney Jonathan Peterson. At this point, I do need to swear you in, Mr. Raffin and Mr. Baker. I'm sorry, you've already been sworn in. You've got a few more years, and I think your terms expire in 26, so you got some time. But the rest of you, if you would please stand up. And what we're gonna do is and then you're gonna state your name, and we'll just go right down the line. And then we'll all in unison continue with the rest of the oath of office. So I.
Rachel Brandon,
Jennifer Johns,
Jonathan Peterson.
George Schinkin. Joseph Hopper.
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of the Munster Plan Commission,
as a member of the Munster Planning Commission,
according to the law,
according to the law,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, you all. I do need your signature. I have an official certificate of appointment. This does get filed at the Lake County Courthouse, which I will probably do this week.
Thank you.
George Schinkin. Jonathan Peterson. Jennifer Johns. I don't want to smile.
He did.
So that's why I stopped my meeting here. All right, thank you very much. and
Clerk
welcome-
Treasurer, thank you
welcome
very
to the
much.
Plan Commission, and we look forward to good things from you.
Thank you very much. Next up is the roll call, Mr. Mendoza.
Mr. Baker, Here. Ms. Brannigan,
Present.
Dr. Hopper,
Present.
Ms. Johns,
present.
Mr. Peterson,
Present.
Mr. Rappin,
Here.
and Mr. Schinkin.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum, moving right along. Next up is the election of officers for President, Vice President, Executive Secretary. Who runs this, Mr. Mendoza? We're looking for a motion, I would assume.
Mr. Mendoza, I nominate William Baker to be chairman for next year's term.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
So any discussion? I you humbly accept. Either no discussion, or Mr. Mendoza, let's do a roll call, please.
Mr. Baker,
I like to say no, but I'm going with yes.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Johns,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Rappin,
Yes.
and Mr. Schinkin.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Next up is Vice President.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Roland Rackman as vice president.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Mr. Rappin, are you willing to serve in that role?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mendoza, roll call, please.
President Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Johns,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
and Mr. Rappin,
Yes.
and Mr. Schinkin.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. Next up, Executive Secretary. That was you, wasn't it, Mr. Mendoza?
It is, sir. You can help me back. I will accept.
I'd love to make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, I can't make the motion. Peterson.
I will, motion to.
And then, I'm sorry, do we have a second?
I will second.
And a second, any discussion? Mr. Mendoza, will you accept that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part.
I will accept.
Absolutely. Can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Johns.
Yeah.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Rappin.
Yes.
And Mr. Schinkin.
Yes.
Outstanding. Moving right along. Next up is the approval of minutes from December 12th, 2023. I'm sure you've all read them. Any modifications, changes, motions? What say you?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second, any discussion? Mr. Wickland, we still doing roll calls in 2024?
We are.
Oh, great. Mr. Mendoza?
President Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Johns,
Abstain?
and Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain as well.
Mr. Rappin,
Yes.
and Mr. Schinkin.
I have to abstain. I haven't seen them.
What's the count, Mr. Mendoza? Does it pass?
1, 2, 3, 4, 3. No. Mr. So we have 4. We have 4 affirmative with Mr. President Baker, Ms. Brandon, Dr. Hopper, and Mr. Ross.
The minutes are approved. They're out there for eternity. Next up is preliminary hearings, which there are none. Followed by public hearings. First on the docket is PC 23-028. The town of Munster is requesting a zoning map amendment to rezone a portion of the property from CB3R2 neighborhood 60-foot, 1-lot family resident district to CD4A general urban A. This was a test, wasn't it? Character district at 706 Ridge Road. Mr. Mendoza.
So, to brief you on this request, this, property is identified at 706 Ridge Road. The front of the property, or the parcel itself, a lot of record goes from Ridge Road down to Briar Lane. The request is to rezone a portion of that parcel, which identifies the existing, commercial building, which is the dentist's office, and the parking lot within that portion of the lot of record. Eventually, what we are creating is dual zoning on one single lot. Anything outside of that would require additional action by the board of zoning appeals with regards to development standard variance, development plan and or rezone, and or any additional subdivision for new construction. So what the history is on this property, you can see here, this is the current zone classification. This occurred shortly after 2019 when the town updated the entire zoning map system. This parcel was zoned residential. It is adjacent to commercially zoned parcels. Prior to 2019, prior to 2019, you can see this is the parcel. It had dual zoning on there. The southern half of that parcel was zoned residential. The northern half was identified as commercial. The structure that you see there existing on site was constructed in 1985. When our building was commercial. This came into light when the property owner requested to do an appraisal on the property. The appraisals came in and identified that the parcel is zoned residential and questioned how a commercial property was zoned in developed in a residential property. Zone property, we discovered that it may have been an oversight on the zoning map creation and inadvertently rezoned the entire parcel to residential. Omitting the use of the existing use of the dentist's office and parking lot there. At that time, we identified it as legal non-conforming. The appraiser determined that the legal non-conforming status of a parcel was restricted from ability for any future appraisals or refinancing because of high risk at financial level. So they inquired and asked if the town would be willing to take the initiative to restore what was previously there for the property owner. And so we have agreed to restore what was previously approved. We contracted with SEH to create a legal description of what was there before, previously zoned as commercial. This is the legal description that was completed in October 30th. We then took the legal description, which will then be used at a later date if there is a favorable recommendation and town council approval for the rezone, to use that legal description to confirm that this is the area, this is the only area that will be rezoned to commercial. Everything south of that would then maintain its residential zoning classification.
Mr. Mendoza, will you say that again, please?
So
Not the whole thing, just that last part.
we will take the legal description that's identified in this exhibit A.
No, the first frontage on Ridge Road is being rezoned. The back portion of that parcel is not being affected by this particular.
This parcel
Thank
is 1,000 square feet. The first 330 feet of the frontage on Ridge Road would be rezoned commercial. The remaining 550 square or linear feet would maintain a residential zone.
So that's going all the way back to Briar Lane.
Right.
Thank you. All right, thank you for that. Any questions for Mr. Mendoza on this as far as catching up on what's happening in this space next to Casa Del Mar, I think?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mendoza, just to clarify, there would be no access to the Ridge Road property from Briar.
At this time, there is no, plan or development plan that's been presented for any new construction. It's just, maintaining what's existing there in the, commercial space. So any, additional access would require plan review.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mendoza, so are they looking to, raise that building and put something else up, or they just want to legally have what they?
They are looking for a legal conforming use. They can continue their appraisal and possibly a refinance of the existing parcel.
But they're not going to tear it down and.
My understanding is no, if they decide to tear it down, then they would have to issue a building permit and any new construction and then for development.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? This being a public hearing, if you'd like to speak on this matter, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Help us.
Oh, don't be shy.
I've never done this before, even though.
Yes, sir. Just state your name and address for the record and let us know what you think.
My name is James Reed. I live at 633 South Street. So I live in the Autumn Ridge condominiums, which shares an address of 633 and 643. That building sits on the north side of South Street with the back, with the back of, told you I never did this before.
Yeah, well,
With the back of the property back up against Casa del Mar. The property that's in question here is to the east of our property. We understand the zoning issue. I don't have a problem with the rezoning. What I have a problem with is the proposal of eliminating South Street as a dead-end street and making it a business entrance into this property. That's illustrated on the drawings.
Mr. Mendoza,
Thank you.
can you show?
is that, excuse me, sir, is that all?
So that's the primary issue. The purpose of that is one, we already have enough issues with commercial vehicles making a loop around the whole building, because you can actually drive around all the Autumn Ridge Condominium Association. We have another individual here we have set a petition where we oppose. I don't believe it's necessary to oppose the zoning. I think the big issue is to oppose using extending and turning it into an entrance into their parking lot in South Street.
This is a rezoning of just the parcel as it is. Where did you see that there was the inclusion of the extension of South Street as a part of this paperwork? Just out of curiosity. Mr. Mendoza, is that something that you're aware of?
Not aware of a full extension of South Street.
Can I approach you and show you on the paper?
Sure. Big approach.
It's better. Okay. Currently, right now, you have to. I can go back and talk about the light, so.
Currently, to access that building, you have to come through the back of Casa del Mar. Is that the stamp?
Yeah, currently there's the easement, the ingress and easement that's there on the front of the building at 706. And Casa, the restaurant is due west of that. You have to go into Casa del Mar's parking lot to drive through that asphalted area to the south, to the north and the west, east, and then into the south side to enter the parking lot. Then out of that parking lot, currently it goes into the back of Casa del Mar. We want to make sure sure, go ahead.
Ask you a question.
Sure.
We're looking at the map and it appears to be there's some bollards there that, are there concrete bollards there from South Street? So this map, where did you get this map?
This packet we got from the.
Oh,
town
from the
council.
packet. Mr. Mendoza, is that being contemplated that they're going to install bollards to allow access to South Street?
That's the restaurant, Salto. That's coming right now.
That's South Street.
Yeah, we have no record of it. This is just the site plan that is there as existing of the portion that's going to be rezoned. This, I'm not sure what the proposal is on that, or we have not received any proposal.
Yeah, that's how solid.
This is the way to get into the building, so that's the highlight.
Yes.
Are they running it right now? No, it's there. That's the only way to get to this parcel.
So currently, no one's driving
So if there's.
off of South Street on the end onto their property.
So there's a cross-access easement between.
But what's been interpreted by the drawing that I've given to you guys. And the council appears to illustrate, and a lot of people have the understanding that they want to terminate the end of South Street and make it an entrance into their parking lot.
And there would be a whole process.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be a.
But on the other hand, if I'm reading it incorrectly and others are reading it incorrectly, there is an access from their parking lot into the south, or excuse me, to the south end of Casa del Mar. So basically to get into that property, because there's no entrance
Right.
off of Ridge Road
Right.
into that 706 address.
Did I, Mr. Raffin, did I hear you say that there's a cross access?
Well, there must be something, obviously, across the park.
Mr. Mendoza, did that come up as a part of the discussion on whether or not there was a cross-access easement between Casa site and this site as far as the ingress and egress?
There was no discussion on that matter. What was discussed was just the rezone to restore what was previously there.
Okay.
Or correcting your earlier statement that this was part of a different action by
Mhm.
by the plan.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Is there anything else?
No, and we were, the issue is I'm an engineer, so I'm always focused on safety. Right now, the east side of that building is one-way traffic. So you come in from the north end of Casa del Mar, drive across the building, make a right-hand turn, go in front or go, east side of the building, and then go in the parking. There is an egress out of the parking lot into the back of Casa del Mar. I don't know what the relationship is between the two. I've never seen a lot of cars there, but the thing is a lot of children, a lot of families, I know a lot of children have moved into Autumn Ridge in the recent years. I think the biggest thing is just public safety. That's the reason why they don't want to see South Street turn. They don't want to lose the dead end of South Street at that point.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody else like to speak on this issue? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Fatima Shabazz. I was the one that started the petition to begin with. So this is going on in October, and unfortunately, we did not receive the letter or the certified letter. Only a couple of us did on December 23rd, which of course that was the weekend before Christmas. That didn't give us enough time to figure out what was going on, so on and so forth. So, not being notified in October, I don't think that, in my opinion, was fair to the neighbors as to what was going on in that area. And according to the drawing that Mr. Reed brought to us, that was from Sergio's office. They were the one that provided that.
This discussion is just about a rezoning of the property, not having anything to do with ingress and egress, even though the point has been brought up. Thank you.
Okay. In addition, so you're saying it's from Ridge Road all the way to Briar Lane. So what's going to happen over in Briar Lane? Because that doesn't make any sense. First, they're saying they're only going to go to a certain point as commercial and leave the rest as residential. So the property was purchased, I guess, almost close to $1 million from Ridge Road all the way to Briar Lane. My main concern is, like Mr. Reed said, that South Street, is that gonna remain as a dead end street? Where are these gates too? There's gates that's going to be put around. They show there's gonna be trash there, a trash bin, I guess, that's gonna be at the end of this gated commercial. So
There's no development plan, which would really be the outline of what kind of like fencing and or dollars that would show up, would have to be presented as a part of the development plan. This issue is more just as a rezoning of the property, not.
they already have the parking laid out, they already have the gates.
Correct, it's already there, it's already a commercial thing, so as Mr. Mendoza said at the beginning with regards to the introduction of this, is that this came up while the current owners were trying to do a refinance, and this came up as an issue that it was
Which one was
overlooked, it
that?
was overlooked as a part of when the town rezoned the entire town. We did what's the formal name, Sergio, the zoning we did?
form-based code.
Right, so that was done, before the COVID, so it looked like it was an oversight on this particular property when they rezoned all of those particular parcels, which are all of them in the town. Got overlooked, so this would be, in my opinion, more administrative. However, the points you bring up are of concern, but are not a part of what we're discussing tonight.
Okay, well, I believe Sergio brought up something about being commercial to a certain point and then residential. But my concern is it gonna happen in 5 years where they're gonna try to rezone it, the remaining of the residential to commercial?
That's in the future.
Yeah,
I wish I could see that.
that's what we're.
It's possible, it's a possible for a lot of things,
Because like
so.
Mr. Reed said, there's families that are moved in there and although
Understood.
even in Briar Lane, I don't know if anyone goes down Briar Lane, but people coming out of Jules and everything, they drive like crazy. And to have another business close to it or even part of Briar Lane, I think that's not gonna, to me, is not gonna be a good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else still a public hearing?
My name is Pamela Michael. I live at 8505 Madison Avenue. I just have a question. I was one of the ones that got,
Pull this down, please.
oh,
'cause I
I
can't
was
hear
one of
you.
the ones that got a certified letter. And if I'm not affected, I was just wondering why I would receive a letter since the building is on Ridge Road. Why would I receive a letter if they're not planning anything?
It's, I think the law states it's 300 feet from the property line, so it would go all the way down to Briar Lane probably, and then they review.
But there's only very few of us that got the certified letters. South Street didn't receive them. Many of our neighbors did not receive them. And I'm probably, I don't know if I'm 300 feet to where Ridge Road is. I'm right on the, right where that would be.
So you're bringing up that there were people that you're aware of that live in that area that didn't get a certified letter.
They're close to this parking lot
Okay.
and to the Ridge Road. I'm on Briar Lane. Right there where the
Yes,
field is empty.
right.
And I get all the traffic and there's a lot of walking and the schools are there, the churches are there. I mean, I live right on the corner and it's very busy on Briar Lane there. I'm just concerned of safety and just, I mean, accidents, they drive crazy. And being on the corner, if they do anything coming through off that field onto Briar Lane and connect it, it's gonna be a mess. And with South Street too going through.
Yes, ma'am. Duly noted, thank you. It's important about those letters. That would be something that'd be interesting to know as far as the listing that went out and how that, gets tracked.
We do have a
I mean-
list of adjacent property owners within 200 feet as identified per our code. The list includes 55 names of addresses. We can confirm, as the demonstrator indicated, she didn't receive a letter and she indicated that her neighbor did not. We can identify, if she's willing to identify that neighbor, we can cross-reference that with our list. But we did send out 55 certified letters.
Well, and then the town, if there's condos, they would have to have each of the individual condo owners, and if those are still, occupied by the owner as well. So how would you know about that?
Correct. We use the Lake County GIS surveyors,
Right.
assessors.
So it's just the property owner, right? But in the condo, it would be kind of interesting. Thank you, ma'am. Is there anything else?
Oh, I just wanted to let you know, I was with the petitioner also, and there are so many people that live there, and nobody received the letters. They
Okay,
were surprised that anything happened.
we
just let you know.
got that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. You already had a bite at the apple. You want to talk some more?
I'm just gonna refer back to that.
Okay.
I'm also the
Oh.
president of the Autumn Ridge Condo Association.
Right.
There's 20 units in there. Less than half
Right.
got letters.
Right.
That's-
It all depends on how it goes to the county and what happens as far as the transfer of ownership of those.
Who rents?
Thank you. Right. Anybody else like to speak on this matter? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Golan. I am at 8522 Madison. And I was just becoming aware of this through my neighbors. And my question is, and I don't have a lot of knowledge about zoning and maps and things, but I understand that they want to rezone their portion closest to the business as commercial. The rest of it would remain residential. So that being the case, why did, for instance, Pamela get a letter if it's going to remain residential? To me, it sounds like they're planning something there. And they also cleared the property too. I think it was about a year ago. There, you know, it was very wooded and somebody came in and cleared all that out. So they, to me, I'm thinking they must have a plan for that area that
Well-
connects to Briar.
It's unique, as I mentioned earlier, about when the town rezoned all the properties, you know, within the community.
Mhm.
This one just got overlooked, but to answer your question, that red area that's on the screen, that's one parcel. So if
Right.
you look on the T, so it's one parcel, so anytime something happens to one parcel, regardless how big it is, that applies to the entire, perimeter. Now, what happened here is that, see the red area?
Yeah, I
That's what we're
understand,
talking
I
about.
understand
Okay.
that.
So that's the property we're talking
Right.
about. And then the north part, or cut it in half just to make it easy. Everything north is gonna be commercial. Everything south is gonna be residential, but it's still one parcel in the eyes of government.
Mhm. I understand that,
So
but
notification wise, I think Mr. Baker is saying, whether it's a commercial part or a residential part, it's one piece of property. So it's probably a mailing off of the whole parcel. So if you're close to the residential area in Briar Lane, you probably got a notice.
And if they do wanna do anything, they're gonna have to come through a whole development plan process. They're gonna have to submit drawings. They're gonna have to do, a litany of things to which that would be the time any concern will be brought up about what that parcel is gonna do.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have listened, I've spoken with Ms. Shabazz previously, and I echo her concerns. I think, as you have indicated and staff has indicated, we're correcting a mistake that the town made so that the business on the north side of the parcel can operate its business. But I fully echo what I've heard tonight, which is the south side should remain residential. South Sheet Street should not be punching through. And I believe, as you have stated, that any attempt by this parcel owner to deviate from that, meaning use South Street or do something different with the south side, would require them to come before this body or perhaps the Board of Zoning Appeals. And that would be addressed, and I would take a dubious view of such a rezoning in light of the character of the neighborhood and the safety concerns that I've heard this evening.
Thank you. Anything else, ma'am?
no,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Baker, I just wanted to make, as a part of the record, we did receive two letters for public notice or as part of the demonstration, one from Randall Taylor and the other one from Mr. Shabazz, who's spoken here. So, can you issue those as part of the record?
Duly noted. Is there any action required for that, Mr. Wickling?
No.
I'm great at that. Okay, back to the board. Or this is a commission, isn't it? Okay, commission, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I want to direct a question to Mr. Shabazz. Mr. Shabazz, your letter said that you wanted more information. Have you had your questions answered?
Yes and no. I'm concerned about down the road them changing the residential to commercial. That's what my main concern, because they just said it was gonna be one parcel, right? One existing land. So that means down the road, if they wanted to, they could change it to commercial. So
Well,
that's my concern. And
They can't unilaterally do it. They'd have to come before the board again. Everyone would get notices, and just like Mr. Baker said, they'd have to come before us and the members of this board would listen to you.
Okay.
And I've heard your concerns. You've expressed them tonight, and you expressed it to me by a phone call earlier. And I take those concerns very seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We're looking to move this along, folks.
I'll make a motion to send the town council a favorable rezone recommendation, including all discussion and findings to approve the proposed amendment to the zoning map.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second?
And I'll add, we heard your all concerns, and Mr. Baker and Mr. Peterson are absolutely correct on how it would go on in the future.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Either none. Mr. Mendoza.
Mr. Shinton,
Yes.
Mr. Rafi,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Ms. Johns,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
and President Baker.
Yes. So the next step for that is to get the town council meeting.
Correct. We will draft a zone ordinance and supporting documents and send it over to town council consideration.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda for public hearings is PC 23-029. OSNI is requesting development plan approval for a 10,000 square foot church building with a medical facility and the addition of a 10,000 square foot medical office building, parking lot expansion, landscaping, and stormwater detention at 9900 Columbia Avenue in Munster. Mr. Mendoza,
The,
going on the tax roll.
this parcel was before the Board of Zoning Appeals earlier. They received 3 variances that they're requesting, and they withdrew 1 variance and were denied another one, and now they're before the planning commission for development plan review with consideration on 1 item as a part of development standards. So this project consists of converting the existing Gate Church structure as part of a remodel exterior and interior, 10,000 square feet as part of phase 1 with expansion of parking lots to accommodate the square footage for use, medical use. The second phase will incorporate an addition of another 10,000 square foot to the existing structure. They are here in 2 phases. As part of phase 1, they will install about half acre of lots adjacent to the lot, a detention area. And so these are the variants that they are seeking. So they were looking for, the first one that was granted was the setback of the structure. 20 feet from the public right of way. In this case, they have been approved to go 50 feet based on hardship identified, which is an existing the next variance that was requested was the use of EFS, which is prohibited. They have withdrawn that request and it will comply with the current zone standard requirements for the redevelopments or exterior development of that site. The additional variance that was there was approval was the location of the entrances. So they're proposing it to face the west side or towards the parking lot. The current zone requirements require that it face the front, the current frontage of facade building. In this case, they'll be facing the side of the facade building. We've identified that the hardship or something peculiar about the property is that easement that kind of conforms the shape of those buildings. The other easement that was granted was the location of parking as part of the overall development. They're proposing parking in the first lot layer. Typically that is prohibited, and they are requesting, and coming only in the second and third lot layer, they were granted that variance for parking in the first lot layer. The other item that was presented, then it was sent to the board of, to the planning commission for their consideration is the installation of a ornamental metal fence along the first lot layer for parking. They've indicated that they have substantial or robust landscaping plans to help with that screening. However, the ordinance identifies this as an enhanced screening hedge, which includes both landscaping and ornamental fence. We've indicated or identified other areas of development within the town that have incorporated both a landscaping and ornamental fence as part of the compliance of the codes. They have left that to the planning commission to make that determination. And then the variance, last variance that was requested that was denied with the installation of sidewalks. They are required to install sidewalks as part of this development. And they are here before the commission for a development plan. Staff findings request that as part of any approval that we receive a maintenance agreement or the use of the adjacent parcel for the drainage, because this parcel is identified as development with impact stormwater, and they have an agreement indicated in place for storage of stormwater with the adjacent partner. However, we'd like to have a copy of that for our record, including the maintenance of that, so that way it does not seem false.
Wow. Is there more?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd like to understand what the lot coverage is going to be on that. The current ordinance requires more than 70% lot coverage.
First question is, are we able to act on anything based on what happened with BZA? And could you help me understand the bridge between what they're waiting for or already have and what is impacted what's currently on this agenda?
So you can act on the development plan and they are, yeah. So the one action that they have to defer to the planning commission is where they are required to install the ornamental metal fence along the first lot where parking. Everything else has either been approved as part of their development plan and or denied.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mendoza on this before I ask for the petitioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mendoza, when I'm looking at the parking lot and all the parking spaces, is the lot coverage exceeding? Are you saying it's exceeding what's?
We don't know, and we're asking that be memorialized of what the lot coverage is.
Okay, has our town engineer review all the stormwater and everything on this?
We have a letter from SEH regarding additional.
There's a bunch of items I noticed.
Correct, yes.
It's outstanding.
Yeah, that needs to be reviewed for additional discussion and compliance.
So if it's not done though, but they're looking for approval of the development plan.
Correct. I think one of the recommendations that was identified as part of this is to defer, so that way there's additional time to review the engineering scope and maybe refine the development plan based on the enhanced edge requirement.
If that's an option, Mr. Raffin, are there things that you've seen that might need to be addressed outside of what is specifically outlined in the paperwork? Because one of the things I was looking at is just the facade as it pertains to facing Columbia Avenue, and also whether or not the signage plan incorporates any of that facing being used as signage, which is there signage plan done? I didn't get to the back.
Yeah, they do have a signage plan. So
Mr.
that's
Mendoza?
Exhibit E.
Did I miss a photometric plan? Did I miss irrigation plan? Did I miss obviously signage? I missed them. Yes. Oh, I went wrong, clicked on the wrong one. All right, that's all right. On me. Okay. Very good. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was still looking for the signage plan. So, anybody else on the commission have concerns? How do we want to handle this? You heard the recommendation. Let me bring the petitioners up. Is there somebody from the group to speak on this matter? Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have to disclose that I am a practicing attorney here in the town of Munster, and I have provided legal representation to the petitioner's representative, Nicholas Georgiou. Consequently, I will recuse myself from any further action on this matter.
Duly noted. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen.
Evening.
Good evening.
Nicholas Georgiou and Associates Architects, Griffith, Indiana, representing the owners, orthopedic specialists of Northwest Indiana. Also here, I'm going to discuss, I'm the architect of record. Mr. Posen here will discuss the civil site aspects of this project. I'll discuss the architectural aspects of the project. The site is the current Gate Church site. And the overall master plan is renovating the existing Gate Church with some minor additions, which are reflected in the plans we submitted. And then in the future, build phase 2 as an addition. When we went through site plan review with the town of Munster, they indicated we'd have to show the overall master plan as part of the development approval process, which we have done that. But I just want to clarify that we're initially, the owners going to build phase 1, and we've designed the parking for the overall development. Mr. Posen will talk further about that. It's an existing one-story building and actually was built in 2 phases back in the late 90s. We do reflect some of the comments were made. The signage plan is shown on drawing A100. The photometrics are included in the package we submitted. There is a rendering on drawing A202 of the proposed materials, etc. Per the comments Mr. Raffin made, we would have to amend some of our drawings to conform with the BZA decisions that were made in the previous meeting. So we would update that relative to what transpired in the Board of Zoning Appeals. We actually would intend to conform to the siding material, but one of the denials was the use of EFIS, which is the existing material. The owners have actually wholeheartedly agreed to remove it and replace it and have conforming materials on the exterior. Because we're limited, unfortunately, on the east side of the project with a significant pipeline easement and the utility easement, the front of the building, which was also accepted in the BZA, is our, why we have a west facing entrance. Desires of the medical practice was to be able to drop off patients, et cetera, on the recovered entrance, and we're basically prevented from having our frontage on Otis Bowen Drive and or Columbia due to that site logistic on what we were deeming. I see Sergio, Mr. Mendoza has up our rendering we have there. I believe there are a couple items that I think we conform for most of the design requirements, but I'll let Mr. Posen talk about the civil site, the utilities, the detention, and then see if there are any questions from that.
Sure, Russ Posen, 1155 Troutline Road, Company, Indiana. Mr. Sergio, can you go to the C-104 site plan for the civil? There would be back there. One more. Oops, go back. There you go. Just, I think a lot of the statements made were accurate, but I do want to clarify a few things. I believe, Mr. Mendoza brought up the lot coverage. Actually, on this drawing specifically in the top left corner, we do have a lot coverage calculation statement of 58%, which is below the requirements. So I believe we show that we are meeting the ordinance. So I just wanted to point that out for clarity's sake so that you can review that. If you look up top, you can't see it on the screen right now. There you go. In that site data statement, we are calculated at 58%. The parking required, as you can see here, we do provide 112 spaces in when you have phase 1 and phase 2. Combined, 103 are required, so we meet ordinance. And in phase 1, it's actually only required for the phase 1 building of 46 spaces, but we're building 93, just functionality of the site. I do know that in general, there were a couple comments from the SEH. I do see that there are 7 comments. Actually, some of these, I think, actually, we will have to coordinate through Sergio with SEH. One of these specifically, the detention based on location actually speaks to the right of way. And we are nowhere near the right of way. We are near property lines. So there's some clarification, I think, with the engineering review and some of these other matters. I think the answer by me as the engineer would be, of course, we'll do it, or some of them might have more discussion. So I think just those statements to me, from an engineering perspective, I think can be easily resolved or reviewed with Sergio and the SH team. I think the other statements that have been made, I think, are just accurate at this point. And if you guys have more questions, we can answer those.
Well, thank you. So I'll start with regards to the drainage. I mean, that retention pond that's in that northwest corner,
Yes.
is that built to the spec of losing the one that because of phase 2?
That detention basin is sized and will be built in phase 1 and will cover the entire phase 1 and phase 2 development. And there's a little bit extra currently. And in the future, there is an agreement, obviously, with the other owner that which is the west property owner, can drain into it. And if they have a development, which they'll have to be from the board for a development plan, the detention basin would have to be increased as applicable per ordinance and would do so at that time.
On this property?
On the west property, that is actually currently Community Foundation's property, but there's an easement. That area is an easement, and the easement agreement with covenants has been approved and will be recorded for the use of that land, which is not OS&I's land, but just community's land, but has an agreed upon easement for this OS&I land and Community Foundation land to use that as detention.
Would they be able to expand that detention over the property line as a part of that easement?
To the south, that is not a property line, that's an easement line, so they need to expand it. It's still their property, they can do an expansion of an easement.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so the goal is most of the parking is being put in phase 1.
That is correct.
There's a small parking lot in phase 2.
Correct,
right? But you're way over parked for phase one right now.
correct.
What's the timeline on phase two? And the only reason I ask is not too many times do we give approval for a huge, massive parking lot for a little building, right? For a smaller building.
The building, the parking, the size for 20,000 square feet of medical office space conforms with your medical parking requirements overall. Correct.
Right.
The owners are currently residents and their practices in Munster. I can tell you that when we started the project and we said, well, we only need 46 spaces, they told us that our existing practice, which is being relocated, we have 80 parking spaces. So we literally, that's why phase one is expanded beyond that. But to answer your question on phase two, at this point, there's no immediate plan other than to make sure it's approved overall. So when they come back, it should be more procedural, so to speak, when they want to do phase two. But right now, they are committed. We've actually started some demolition on the existing building, which we're allowed to do to gut it for the preparation of the project. They're moving forward, and hopefully everything will be per your approvals and we can continue. But at this point, there's no date for phase two. But hopefully I answered your question.
On that subject matter, would they be open to saving some money and not putting all that additional parking in right now as opposed to spending that money to do it and plow it and take care of it? And then maybe just think of having a long, nicely landscaped entryway down towards phase one. And then when phase two does come up, that could all be incorporated as a part of that plan.
They've made it clear to us that they need minimum of 90 spaces, even though the phase one by code only requires 46. So that's why we have the 100 spaces.
93.
Phase one,
93.
So it literally matches their current needs.
Oh, I understand what they want. I want a lot of things too. So, I mean, Santa was good, but, any other questions for these gentlemen? Thank you. Mr. Mendoza, this is a public hearing, correct? I'm going to open up the public hearing and it'd be there no questions for the petitioner. If somebody likes to speak on this, don't all rush. State your name and address for the record. Going once, going twice, bring it back to the board. What say you?
Mr. Chairman, it's not necessarily on, our documents or agenda, but is that something that we can request to phase the parking, or should we not do that? I'm just,
You can make it a contingency now. One of the options here is because of all of the other information that still needs to be shared between the petitioner and the town. You might want to move this till next week or next month as far as the motion, so those things are clarified. But some of those things might also be, viable to be, put in there as well. It sounded like to me what I heard when I asked the question, that the petitioner owners are very focused on having a lot of parking.
sure, yeah.
The other, can I make a comment?
Sure. Are you coming back up for another bite at the apple?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I just want to clarify what transpired at BZA, which was the enhanced hedge item, because relative to your comment, Mr. Baker, there is extensive landscaping on the south edge of the parking lot and the entrance. The only missing piece is the ornamental iron fence, but we have a continuous hedge, we have trees, landscaping all across the south side of that parking lot at the entrance.
And then going further to the west, the properties there have a similar type of frontage on their entrance into their properties? Because there's been a zoning change, that's why it's unique.
I know hospice is to the west of us, and I don't recall their exact entrance, to be honest.
Okay. I'll figure that out. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
maintenance of the retention pond, is that on your client? Who mows it? Who cleans it? Who makes sure it's not all weeds and cattails?
I think Fred Mighty's.
That's not full with silt.
I will have to get back to you. I do know that the reference on that actually it was recorded, that the negotiation, the calculation to allow that detention to be for the entire development, the reference to community foundation for future expansions on the onus of OSNI. I will confirm what was in that recorded agreement with the purchase if it addressed maintenance.
You got a lot of runoff line there, with that big parking lot. It's either that or a good storm trap on the parking lot.
We have a hydrodynamic separator as part of this project.
And what's the rate of outfall on this? What's the release rate on this?
We're meeting the ordinance, so the release rate is the 0.12 CFS per acre, so we're meeting that ordinance underneath it. So, yeah, we meet ordinance in that case.
Is there anything else you wanted this board to know before we move on as it relates to the transition from BZA to planning commission and what we should factor in?
The only really item for discussion was the ornamental fence up in front,
Right.
whether we're putting that in. We deferred that to the plan commission regarding developmental plan standards.
Because again, how does it look up and down? Because everybody else had different zoning requirements. Now you have the parcel that's at the entrance and at the corner of, you know, a pretty busy part of town, especially when the train goes in, it's even gonna get busier. And they need to be expanded. So,
Well, if you're asking me what my opinion on the ornamental fence, there's not a parcel or piece around Hartsfield or anywhere else that has it. No. So if you're heavily landscaping it, I think it would look nice, just like Hartsfield is heavily landscaped. I don't think any kind of use in that area is gonna put another ornamental fence. There's just a property between, there's one property, I believe, empty between this parcel and the community foundation office.
And the next community's parcel still, right?
you know, but these were the conversations that we were having that we knew we were gonna have to deal with when we were going through this whole rezoning. One size does not fit all. So doing,
Well, it's also a very small fence. It's not like it's really a privacy fence. It's just like a waste.
and what about all about Calumet Avenue or Columbia Avenue where everybody's driving by? So. All right, any other questions for these gentlemen? All right, let's do something.
Well, I think it meets the lighting, obviously. There's some issues that we have to talk about with engineering. I think you need to work that stuff out. They're meeting all the building requirements in regards to building materials that are approved by the town of Munster. They're putting in the sidewalk, they have irrigation. So if that's all the case, I'll make a motion to approve this, but contingent on working with staff regarding the issues that are outstanding. Engineering being one.
So what about your ornamental fence and what about the 95 parking spaces?
I don't have a problem with 95 parking spaces. Someone else does. I mean, speak
We
of
know.
it, but the fence, I was on the fence on it earlier. And I don't think.
Pun intended. Well
I
done.
don't think they need to put the fence in because there's nothing else around that patch.
Understood. So there's a motion. Is there a second?
I would like,
And a second. Any discussion?
I would like to say that if it is an improvement, I think the current building is not pleasing. And I think, I appreciate what, you know, your architecture, the design is nice. I like it.
Three Floyds will love that parking lot on the weekends.
Mr. Mendoza, do you have a list of the contingencies as it relates to the motion and the second?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Mr. Shinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Rasmussen,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Abstain.
Ms. Johns,
Yeah.
Dr. Ford. Ford, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Brannigan
Yes.
and President Baker.
Yes. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Next up is the findings of facts. We have none. Followed by continued discussion. Other items, we have an item, Mr. Mendoza, the 2024 Plan Commission meeting dates and filing deadlines.
So this is a sheet that we'd like to share with the public and future commissioner and applicants. Essentially what it is identifies the year of 2024 scheduled meeting dates with the filing deadline. So for example, today's meeting, January 9th, filing deadline will be again on December 15th. Next month's meeting is February 13th. Filing deadline this year on the February 13th meeting is for January 23rd. It's consistent with what the deadlines have been, 1 days or 3 weeks for the time of the application being accepted. So, here's on the agenda. So we just kept that same format. However, we are looking to find the rules and procedures of the planning commission to see if there's any additional language that requires you 30 days, some is like, or 30 days, some require less. It just depends on your rules and procedures. We did find one document that was from 1990. However, it was did not provide sufficient evidence as to compliance with this procedure. So we are continuing the 3 weeks or 21-day filing deadline to the meeting date format, and we would just like to share this with you in case there's any additional comments or discussion. If not, then we will share this for the public review.
Well done. So, 3 weeks between the filing deadline and when it would show up on our agenda. So during your tenure, I have a question, if you don't mind. How often are people that are coming in wanting to do projects in town and spend millions of dollars ask for assistance in squeezing that 3 weeks down to 1 week? And how long does staff take to process this stuff?
So creating a staff report is anywhere from 2 to 6 hours to create a thorough staff report. And
Depending on the size of the project.
correct, and then we have additional review. So we try and accept, we notify the applicants ahead of time through the site review committee what all is required for submission. However, they may have in some occasions where last minute items are submitted after the filing deadline, which then kind of changes the staff report, and we're making changes at the last minute to accommodate those updates, those last minute updates.
So if somebody wants to come and spend money in town, is there a place on the website where they can go in and get the list of all the things that they need to provide before they come and introduce themselves to you?
Yes, we have identified that as part of the site plan review committee and what's required to review. As part of that, we discuss what additional information is required, and they come back for additional review at the site plan committee, and at that time, they can send that information, and we determine whether they complied with all the requirements, and then we'll push them towards filing an official application.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Question, for Mr. Mendoza. Who's on the site plan?
Site plan review committee consists of the building official, myself, the town engineer, the works director, and fire chief, police chief. And there are policies in place that allow for up to 2 or 3 plan commission members to participate if they choose.
Can I get invited to that?
So, yeah, we will send out an agenda of when those meetings are as well to the commissioners for their decision to participate. However, we just want to make sure we don't we don't need a quorum as part of that.
Understood. And those are good because that's when everybody gets to know whether or not the trucks can get around and be able to, how they're going to be able to access that from the standpoint of public safety. It's a good one. All right, last question is there any way you could squeeze the 3 weeks down?
If I have additional personnel, staff, absolutely, we can cut it down.
I'm just looking at it from the standpoint, if I'm the site selector guy and I'm bringing in a company to be able to do this and I want to write checks now, how quickly can I work through the process if I have the wherewithal and I can tell the parameters?
So in my 21-year career, I've only seen one petition to make completely full problems, and it was a blessing.
It was a church.
Yes, and so that would be the ideal, and I think with the site plan review committee, that allows us the time to work with applicants to come into compliance and meet the requirements of the town.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Then on the flip side, Mr. Baker, wouldn't it be nice if staff can have it prepared in 2 weeks and get it to us with a week to review instead of 2-3 days, right?
I concur.
So I think.
I would trade out my time for a multi-million-dollar deal and make it happen.
Well, if you're gonna do a multi-million-dollar deal, you better have your ducks in a row, not have to
I
wait.
agree.
Right?
That's true. Okay, do we have to make action on this, or is this just an FYI?
No action is required, just wanted to share information with commissioners and see if there's any discussion or thoughts, then we'll go ahead and share this with the public.
Any concerns? Either none. Have at it, sir. Anybody else have anything to add for the greater good? Either none. Next meeting is February 13th, 2024.
Motion to adjourn.
And we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I will second.
Outstanding. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Come see Mr. Wickman and light me up. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your.